Happy Father's Day, guys. In honor of Father's Day, I have my Married with Children t-shirt on. Let's talk about sports cards before we get our day started. Hello to all my sports card collector, investor, the collectibles friends that I've got. Thank you very much for joining me here today. It is Father's Day. Big shout out to all the dads out there. You know, dads, you are appreciated. Special Father's Day shout out to subscriber Patrick Ski. I hope that you have an amazing day. I heard that you are a big Walter Payton fan. I've got a PSA 6 rookie card of Walter Payton, and I can tell you that when I was at the Dallas show, I actually saw a PSA 10 of that card. Only about 50 exist, and it was one of the more beautiful things I've ever seen. So, Patrick, I hope that you have an awesome day today. And before we get started, big shout out to our sponsor of this video. This video is sponsored by Bob's Card Market, a premier sports card trading community with over 900 members located on a Discord. It is free to join, guys. Check them out. If you're looking for an alternative place to buy and sell trading cards and just looking for a great community, check out Bob's Card Market. I've got a link located in the video description as well as in the comments section. It's 100% free to join. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button and the notification bell. We come out with just about daily content, so stay with us, stick with us. All right, guys, I know that, there is a lot of just kind of negative talk out in the world in general, but I want to talk about just kind of get back to basics on sports cards, collecting, and investing in sports cards. And in some ways, we've gotten away a little bit from kind of, the things that got us back into the hobby, or for those that have stayed in the hobby in general, there's been a lot of negative talk, and for good reason. There are things to be negative about for sure, but I wanted to drive home on this Father's Day, my long-term optimistic viewpoint on sports cards. I'm a big believer in it, and look, I got back in about 3 years ago, a little over 3 years ago, January, February 2018, so about a little over 3 years ago. And I got into it for a variety of reasons, nostalgia being a big one, trying to connect with my childhood, but also the strides that the hobby had made with third-party grading and, opportunities to buy and sell cards with online platforms that I did not have when I was in my childhood. And, so we've come a long way. And then I look at just the last 12, 15 months since I've started a YouTube channel, and you've got so many companies that have come into the fold that are looking to kind of, advance the hobby in various ways. And it's exciting, frankly. I mean, I am excited about the hobby long term. And look, I'm a generally optimistic person, and I like to feel happy. I just do. So although, of course, we do, talk about some of the bad things that go on in the hobby, and it's important to talk about the ups and downs, downsides, of course. It's very, very important because we don't want to just put on rose-colored glasses without having sort of an idea of what can happen and what to watch out for. So we've made a variety of videos all over the map on this channel about all sorts of different topics related to sports cards and collectibles in general. And it's for that reason. But again, when we get back to the basics of it, there's a reason why I got in and stayed in, and I'm still going to stay in into this hobby. And of course, collecting is a big part of that. I love to accumulate the cards of the players that I really enjoy. But also it's that I believe in this thing long term. I believe in the hobby, and I believe that the cards will continue to carry value and gain value over time. I think something that gets lost in the conversation here at times is, short-term buys versus long-term buys. And there's kind of just there's blanket statements on whether you're buying and selling, sports cards. Are you in it for the long term? Are you, in all of this, and which cards are long-term and which cards are short-term? These are two very distinct differences between, how I'm buying and selling sports cards. For me, I've got short-term buys to where maybe, I'm thinking about, a player that could have a good season that's coming up, or maybe a player that I think will have a lot of excitement around them. Maybe there's a trade that could be coming, or maybe there's free agency coming, or maybe it's a player that's coming off of injury that I think is going to have a great season, or maybe they just had a down year and I think they're going to have a good season this season. That's all fun to speculate on. Those are fun to do, and I would say that that's become more of a smaller part of what I'm doing now. Most of my buys, especially over the last 6 to 9 months, have been more of the long-term hold variety. Now, is it something to where I could maybe move those cards into a larger card of that same player? Maybe, and so that's where you maybe have kind of a short-term viewpoint. But I guess what I'm saying is they're cards that if I am holding onto it for 20 years, I'm perfectly fine holding onto it based on the combination of player, scarcity of the set, etc., all of those things wrapped in. So that's where I've tried to kind of, I've tried to limit the downside exposure. So I'm trying to buy, what I think are high value cards, which has been tricky, frankly. I mean, look, prices have been going up, for the last 18 months. And now over the last 3 months, a little over 3 months, they've been drifting downward. When I got back in, I never in a million years thought that cards were going to 10x. I never thought that was going to happen. That wasn't that wasn't anything that I thought was even possible. A guy that I like to watch is Rudy at Alpha Investments, and he is a big Magic the Gathering Pokemon buyer collector of those cards. And the reason why I like his stuff, first off, he's highly entertaining, but also he said that, look, his goal is to really just make, 5 to 8%, 5 to 7% annually is kind of like what, and he really enjoys Magic cards. So as long as he can kind of make those small incremental gains, then he is perfectly happy with that. So the idea that something has to go up 50%, 100% or 200% or whatever it is, it was never going to last that way. And we're seeing kind of that correction happen, crash correction, whatever you want to call it. But it doesn't change my outlook on the sports card market as a whole over the long term. There are now, look, this has never changed. This is, the one thing that I think has never changed, whether it's today or going back to when I was a kid collecting cards, is most cards are not going to gain value over time. I do believe that most cards, if you're looking at common cards, think about when, we were opening packs, 30 years ago, 25 years ago, or even, depending on how old you are, 10, 15 years ago, you open a pack and you're looking for that one card that's, the one parallel or the hit in the box or the, in the pack. And the other cards are common cards. In a lot of the cases, you've lost on those common cards. So, that's why I don't buy into, I don't rip wax, and I don't, unless I happen to get retail, which I'm not a retail hunter. So, I don't go after retail just because it's been so hard to get. I'm not going to wait in line. Nothing against the guys and gals that do that. I think that there's a fun element of the hobby that's that element, so I totally get it. But buying boxes, buying packs, and opening packs, while I did enjoy that when I was young, I'll just do that now. Honestly, if I want to do that, I'll buy packs from 1990. I'll buy packs from 1988. I'll buy 88 Topps football. I'll buy something like that because it's literally still $2 a pack. I'm not buying that new stuff. It's the same reason I don't get into box breaks, because $50 to get in on a break. When I get that $50 goes a long way when you're buying singles. It really can when you're buying graded cards, etc. So there's certain parts of the hobby that are fun, that are entertainment. That if you enjoy it, that's great. But for me, it's important that my stuff holds value over time with incremental gains. And so even for my PC type stuff, if I'm collecting Drew Brees, I'm a huge New Orleans Saints fan. I'm not necessarily buying a bunch of commons of Drew Brees. I'm trying to buy some stuff with a little bit of scarcity to it. Maybe it's numbered, maybe it's a rookie card, etc. So even if it's my PC stuff, I've got a family, so I've got to be mindful of that as well. I'm not independently wealthy with infinite resources to buy cards. I wish that I was, but I'm not, so I've got to kind of be a little bit strategic about how I do it. And so I've really tried to move my resources into players that I think are going to be relevant 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years down the line. And I do like a lot of the vintage stuff for that reason. Or, it's guys that are still playing. I know I've talked about Tom Brady before. I bought into Tom Brady. But I think that the one thing to say too, it's important when you're talking about, when I'm buying into GOATs, price point is really everything. Price point is critical. And really over the last 18 months, there hasn't been bargains Jordans on GOATs. They've just been moving upward, and maybe little pockets here and there, but for the most part, if you're buying LeBron James and Michael Jordan and and Wayne Gretzky and some of these guys, it's just been kind of trending up. And I think that that's really kind of the thing is, kind of watching which players do you think, are going to be relevant down the road. For me, I've just kind of picked certain players that I've moved resources into, and then I really enjoy vintage football cards. So I've gotten graded rookie cards of, Mike Singletary and Phil Simms and some of these guys that, lesser known Hall of Fame guys that might not necessarily be worth $1 million over time, but that I got in at a good enough price point to where I feel like, okay, that downward risk is fairly low. So as I said, guys, I'm taking a long-term view on this. It's a hobby that I really, really enjoy. I'm so glad that I got back into it. And I think that there are pockets for everybody that are here. And it's just a matter of kind of finding your lane in your pocket that you really enjoy and making the most of that. So on this Father's Day, I'm coming with an optimistic message. I hope that everyone has an amazing day and really enjoy your collection. Enjoy buying and selling the cards that you love. Whether it's sports cards, any type of collectible, any type of hobby that you have that you really enjoy, it shouldn't be a chore. It should be fun. And let's get back to the fun and really kind of focus on it and not forget why we got back into this in the first place. Have a great day. I hope that you all have an amazing weekend.